Okay. Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes until we can get everybody in. Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes until... I hope there wasn't an echo because there may have been. Not sure, though. I just muted my YouTube page, so I'll start in about 2 minutes. Hi to everyone who's here. Hi, Priya. Oh, no more echo. Awesome. Who else is in here? I hope you guys are having a good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And I hope it's not raining where you are. It's been raining in DC for 60 days and 60 nights, it feels like. Yes, the rain has been out of control. I don't know, it's craziness. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started since we have some people in here. I'll be switching back and forth between the screens to see if anybody has any questions and I can answer them, but I will be stopping early so that way we can just have a Q&A. Any of the information that you see, hi Steve Arba, I like that name. I stumble sometimes. Any like information that I talk about as far as like any like assessments or anything, I'll be sure that we'll send those out whenever we send out the playback. So no worries if you don't catch anything. All righty, let's get started. So I'm gonna start with a story. So basically, I'm talking to you guys about imposter syndrome today, and the funny thing about imposter syndrome is that I literally battle with it all day long, every single day. So I'm kind of an expert on imposter syndrome because it really impacts my life all the time. I am a new adjunct professor at Bowie State University. I am the youngest professor in my department, and that was the first time I realized that, wow, I can command attention in the classroom. And that's when my imposter syndrome really kicked up. I used to experience a lot when I was in graduate school, but as I started to get closer to the end of my program and I got closer to my defense, I found that I was really feeling anxious and having low self-confidence when it came to my work because I've always felt like I was not as articulate as some of the other students in my program and other programs. And with my economic background and my social background, I felt like I didn't fit in. So that would make me question my greatness a lot. So luckily, I have deemed myself as the Beyonce of academia. And I used to say that I was working on becoming the Beyonce of academia, but my homegirl basically said, sis, that's imposter syndrome, because if you feel like you're the Beyonce of academia, then that's what you are. So I'm trying to, live in my truth. So I'll be talking to you guys about imposter syndrome while schooling life, managing your expectations versus reality, and just a couple of things that you can do to combat that moment of self-doubt when you're in it. This is all of my Twitter and stuff. I don't have a Twitter page, but my blog does, but I do have IG. So follow your girl, and I will follow back. I love following people and getting to know people. Okay, so the first thing is, what is imposter syndrome? So there are plenty of definitions of imposter syndrome all over the internet. I'm pretty sure you've seen them in different articles from the Daily Beat, Huffington Post, The Root. There's plenty of different publications that always talk about imposter syndrome. So I just pulled from the scholarly articles I found, also based upon my own experience. And it's basically a perceived fraudulence. So it's this idea that everything that you do is by luck. Every accomplishment, every accolade, everything that you have that you have achieved and obtained is not because you're actually good at it, but because like you got lucky, or because like someone was showing you some type of favor because they may or may not felt bad for you, but not because you are a great person. And imposter syndrome can manifest in many different things. So a lot of people who suffer from imposter syndrome, which is everyone, truth to be told, have depressive tendencies, self-criticism, social anxiety, achievement pressures, and self-monitoring skills. So basically that means that all of those kind of play into the imposter syndrome mindset, because it is a mindset. And I will talk about it later on during my expectations versus reality slide, how as a person of color who is in graduate school, how we are almost groomed to experience imposter syndrome. And I will go more into detail about that. So the graphic that you guys see on the right is basically a small graphic that I made. So there's circles. In the middle is basically your greatness, who you are, your achievements, how well you're doing in school, the school that you're going to, your research, the relationships that you've built in your program, or just in general, anything that you're doing. Because as we all know, when you're in graduate school, you may be wearing multiple hats. What covers that greatness is reality. So the reality of what you're doing. So if you are achieving these great things, that's the reality of it. But what hides all of that greatness and the reality of your greatness is your fears. And imposter syndrome is rooted in fear. The fear that you will be found out, that someone will quote unquote pull your card or try to humble you. And that can come from many different aspects in your life, your childhood, how you were treated in school, and even just basically the messages that you believe about yourself. That inner voice that you have plays a role in your how you view yourself. And when you are in graduate school, it is very easy to fall suspect to feeling as if you don't measure up, especially if you're in spaces with people who do not look like you. I went to a PWI for undergrad, so I remember sitting in a classroom and being the only Black woman in the English department in that classroom. And I remember feeling almost as if like I wasn't being heard by my classmates when I would speak about literature that meant something to me. And I remember I had a advisor, Professor Cox at ODU, shout out to the Monarchs, and she always would remind me that you are supposed to be here. You are worthy, you matter. So that's one of the main things that I will also, that I will be talking about, is the fact that imposter syndrome ties directly into self-worth. Do you know what your self-worth is? Do you feel like you are enough? Because when you are in these grad school settings, there are a lot of things set up, obstacles in the way that people feel or may say about you, how they look at you, how they treat you in the departments that you're in, can really have you questioning like your self-worth and who you are as a person. All right, let me know if I'm moving too fast, because I can talk very fast. My students usually don't say anything, but I know the truth. All right. So I'm going to talk about expectations versus reality. So the first thing I want to talk about is how we set the bar. As students who are of color, we are always going to be seen as high achieving people. We are going to be seen as the overachievers because we are doing something that a lot of people think, and I'm using quotations around think, that we're incapable of doing, which is not true. Because of this, we set a bar, a standard that we will never be able to reach. So a prime example that I will give you guys is if you're running a race, and I'm using this so you have a visualization of what I'm saying. If you're running a race and you see the finish line, as you're getting close to the finish line, people are constantly moving the finish line further and further and further and further away. So as soon as you get to touch it, it's gone. We do that a lot of times when we are suffering from imposter syndrome. We will set this goal, we will achieve the goal, but before we can even enjoy the goal, we've already moved on to the next goal. We've already set the standard even higher. We haven't even acknowledged the fact that we have achieved something so great because we are constantly trying to outdo ourselves every single time. And that goes directly into sit and celebrate, which is something that I created where when you achieve, you have to sit down, not actually sit down, but take a moment and celebrate. And you really need to celebrate that win, because I feel like we're in this this space now where we expect instant gratification, and we're always doing things to get the instant gratification. So every time we achieve something, we're just doing it sometimes in hopes that someone will acknowledge us. And once we get that acknowledgement, we're on to the next thing to get acknowledged again. But we never take the time to stop, sit, and celebrate ourselves and celebrate the things that we are doing. And when you are a graduate student or considering going into graduate school, celebrating those milestones of passing your first class, doing your first presentation, even just meeting a study group that works for you, being able to find your way around campus. These are small milestones that people just overlook, but they matter. And those are milestones that we need to sit and celebrate. And imposter syndrome will put you in a place where you don't allow yourself to sit and celebrate yourself. You don't feel worthy of it. You feel as if you're wasting time, and you feel as if you have to continue to do things for instant gratification. And I'll be talking about an exercise that you can do that will provide you with a gratification that will last a lifetime rather than a gratification that will last for the moment. All right. Ooh, let me drink some of my water. I'm dehydrated. The next thing is going to just kind of shift the conversation to this whole mindset of twice as good, twice as hard. We have probably all heard that before. If you're Black, I'm sure you've heard it before. You have to work twice as good, and you got to work twice as hard, and you have to, because you have these counts against you. And we have this drilled into our mind at a young age, so we're always constantly trying to achieve. And that can really set us up to battle with imposter syndrome at great lengths. When you think about being in a graduate school setting, in a classroom setting, you always feel as if when you speak, whatever you say has to be correct. You cannot give the wrong information. You cannot make mistakes. And because of this, you are constantly pressuring yourself to be the best version of yourself when you're already doing just fine. So you push yourself to be better when you're already best. And I think a lot of times when it comes to being a graduate student or just being a student in general, that's why I said school and life, because a lot of this information that I'm giving you all can be transferred into your everyday life as well, is that we have this idea that our best is not good enough because it does not match what we see. And to be honest with you and very blunt and straightforward, a lot of the things that we see for people who don't look like us is them being mediocre at best. And because we are trying to outdo mediocre at best, we don't realize that we're already best. Like, we're already there. You have already arrived at this place. But because we have always been told that we have to work twice as hard to just be twice as good, we think that it's never going to be good enough. So we're right back in that race again. That finish line is still there, and you're running and you're running and you're running until your body is beat down and, and broken down. And that goes right into my next point, where I talk about doing too damn much. We do too damn much. Alonce and I were literally just talking about all the things that we have to do. And we both realized that we just do too damn much. And that's what happens when you have this mindset that you have to be high achieving, that you have to be, quote unquote, the talented 10th. You have to be the wittiest Black person in your program. You have to set the example for the Black people coming after you, that you can't just be human. So you find yourself really believing that you have to do the most. And doing the most will really put you in a position to sometimes not do things efficiently. And I am a person who has been put in plenty of positions where I have done too damn much, and it was not efficient. And it reflected on what I was doing, and more damage was done because I was not taking the time to actually like separate my task. So one thing I really encourage, especially my students, is give yourself time. You do not have to do everything at once. You cannot multitask. There's this idea that we can multitask at all times, but we can't. You need to pick things and do a fine focus. I tell my students this all the time, a fine focus. And what a fine focus is, you pick something that you need to do and you sit down and you do just that. And when you're in graduate school, you feel like you have to juggle all of these things. And that's fine. Sometimes you may have to do more than one thing. You may have to, transcribe a paper while doing something else. But you have to be realistic about the quality of the work that you're producing when you're doing those things. So sometimes you just need to sit down. You got to sit your ass down. Sorry I'm cussing at y'all, but someone got to talk to y'all like, it's your mama. Sometimes you got to sit your ass down. Think about when you were little and you would be running in and out of the house, and the air conditioner come out the house and you get yelled at, stop coming in and out of my house, either stay in or stay out. You need to have that mindset when it comes to your work. When you are in graduate school, if you truly and honestly believe that you can multitask and you can be the Jane or Jack of all trades at the same time without having any fine focus and really focusing on a specific part of your craft or a specific part of your research, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt. And you're going to also always feel as if you are trying to play catch up. You're trying to grow more arms than you have. You only have 2 arms. So you don't want to allow imposter syndrome to convince you that you have to do all of these things. Sometimes you could just do one thing at a time. It's really important to remember that. I presented last Friday at a symposium in Towson, and we were just talking about imposter syndrome, and we used Solange's album. And one of the things I was talking to some of the participants about that came around to the poster is that Solange sat on a seat at the table for 10 years. Some of those songs are 10 years old. She wasn't eager or in a rush to produce and put out something that she wasn't ready for the world to take in. We have to have that mindset when it comes to our own projects and our own work and while we're in graduate school. There is no race. It's a journey. And every journey is different and no journey is linear. You may start at a program, get into the program, thoroughly enjoy yourself, and then realize that the program just does not fit your academic needs. So you have to go somewhere else. Or you may start a program and life happens and you have to stop a program and get back into a program. That's okay too. But you need to realize that you don't always have to be on go, and you don't always have to do so many things at once. Just slow down. I promise you, it really benefits your mind, body, and spirit when you allow yourself to do one thing at a time. And when you actually do that, you will find that you will enjoy your task so much more. One thing that I learned in graduate school when I was at Bowie State was that I had to dedicate a day to a class. I could not do work from multiple classes in the same day because I would not retain the information. That's just what worked for me. I know some people, they're able to, dedicate like half the day to this class and then half the day to the other class, or they have specific days during the week where they just do homework. For me, I would dedicate a specific day to the class and I would focus on that work, and that allowed me to retain the information. It also made me a better student and communicator. And I got my master's in organizational communication. So that was something that we were studying, and being able to learn how to separate my task in a way where I wasn't doing the damn most made it easier for me to communicate my needs and advocate for myself in my program when I needed help. And I feel like a lot of times we're doing so much that we don't even give ourselves time to breathe and say, hey, I need help, or hey, I'm not going to be able to turn in X, Y, and Z until X, Y, and Z date. I overbooked myself. And you have to be okay to be realistic with yourself. The expectations that we have for ourselves are all projections of what we think we're supposed to be. No one else can tell you who you're supposed to be but yourself. So you really want to work on that inner monologue and kind of figure out, why am I doing the most? The next thing is societal pressures. I talked a little bit earlier about parents and the whole mindset of you have to be twice as good and work twice as hard. But also society plays a role in that. Like, as a person of color in a graduate school program, you feel like you are indebted to your community to accomplish this in a specific way. And that's just not the truth. And when you learn to let go of that ideology and that thought process, you will realize that I am in this program because I want to do something great for my community, not because I owe my community something or I owe someone something. And when you feel like you owe someone something, you will constantly second guess and question if what you're doing is good enough. When you are doing things for yourself because you really want to do it, that is how you become set free. That is how you set yourself free from imposter syndrome. The last thing is economical pressures. I come from a very poor background, and I don't need to go into great detail because everyone has a story. But I come from a very, very impoverished background, and I was blessed enough to be able to get a lot of loans for school. Now I'm suffering because I have to pay them, but I was able to pay for school through student loans. And when I was in undergrad, I was able to get a few scholarships that were really, really helpful. But your economical standing can play a big role in how you view yourself. When we were talking earlier, I talked about how imposter syndrome ties directly into self-worth. So if you are not feeling worthy of yourself because of your economical, background, or because you don't have the same amount of money as someone else in your class, or you don't have a full-time job, or you're not driving a nice car, or you're just trying to make ends meet, but you really want to get this degree, you will get to that point where you start to question your self-worth, and you will start to believe that all of your achievements are not for you because you're not worthy of them. You don't deserve them. And that's not true. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next slide. This is the slide I like the most. So I'm about to talk about, did it go to the next slide? Let's see. I think it did. Okay, I'm going to talk about competence types. So Dr. Valerie Young wrote this book, and she created subgroups for imposter syndrome. She studied how imposter syndrome impacts women. In 1978, Clant and Emes, they came together and they created this imposter syndrome, which is basically a syndrome they thought only impacted women, but now we know with research and just how the climate is right now in our society, it also impacts men as well. So these are the subgroups that she created, and I am going to go through them. Let me pull it up on my phone. And I want you guys to listen to some of the descriptions, and I want you guys to comment at the bottom and tell me which competence type are you. I will start. I'm a perfectionist, and I will give you some of the ways that you will know if you are a perfectionist. Perfectionists set excessively high goals for themselves, and when they fail to reach a goal, they experience major self-doubt and worry about measuring up. Whether they realize it or not, this group can also be control freaks, feeling like if they want something done right, they have to do it themselves. Girl, listen, I am definitely a perfectionist. I have always been one of those people that believes that, well, if I don't do it, they're not going to do it. If they do it, they don't do it right. And my husband always pulls my card on that. He was like, I can also do that too, sis. So that's the imposter syndrome subgroup that I am a part of. Some of the questions they ask is, do you have great difficulty delegating, even when you're able to do so? Do you feel frustrated and disappointed in the results? Do you feel like your work must be 100% perfect, 100% all of the time? This relates to me because when I was in the 4th grade, I had a teacher that I loved so much, Miss Hall. And she used to always, reassure me and say, you're a very smart student, you're very good. But when I would get home, my aunt and uncle who I was living with at the time would always say, you need to go above and beyond the call of duty. So if I got straight A's, but my A's weren't 100%, it was a problem. So for me, I was raised to be a perfectionist. The next one is the Superwoman / Superman. I see Raven down there saying that she is definitely the Superwoman. So the Superwoman are people who experience this phenomenon are convinced they're phonies among real deal colleagues. They often push themselves to work harder and harder to measure up, but this is just a false cover-up for their insecurities, and the work overload may harm not only their mental health, but also their relationship with others. So some of the questions is, have you let your hobbies and passions fall by the wayside, sacrifice to work? And there's this activity that Dr. Amber Johnson, she's at a school in St. Louis, I heard her speak, where she basically taught us how to figure out what we're compartmentalizing. And I will try to create that graphic so that way Alante can get that out to you all. But basically the graphic has a square, a circle, I think it's a circle, a square, and a triangle. And she basically has you write the things that you are passionate about, the things that make you happy, and like the things that you're actually doing, and you like connect them to see like what you're compartmentalizing. And this is a prime example of that. The Superwoman and Superman in the competence groups does all these things. Like, I mean, they are out here killing the game, but they are not doing what they're passionate about. They are so focused on achieving and so focused on being able to do everything that they allow the things that they are actually good at to just become like little one-off things for them. The next one is the natural genius. People who struggle with this, who are also natural geniuses, judge success based on their abilities as opposed to their efforts. In other words, if they have to work hard at something, they assume they must be bad at it. So I kind of have the natural genius in me because I was and still am sometimes convinced that I suck at math because it doesn't come easy to me. And the natural genius has this mindset of they must keep record of all the A's and gold stars they always get. Were you told frequently as a child that you were the smart one in your family? Yeah, stop everything, y'all. Stop everything. I am also the natural genius. Funny story. When I was in undergrad and I was preparing to graduate, my family prayed over me as being the one who was going to get us out of our situation because I was graduating undergrad. Now, if you know, like I know, we don't make no money when we get out of school. So I don't know what they were talking about, but they truly believed that I was a smart one. So I am definitely like half perfectionist, half natural genius. The next one is the rugged individualist. Sufferers who feel as though asking for help reveals their phoniness are what Jung calls rugged individualists. It's okay to be independent, but not to the extent that you refuse assistance so that you can prove your worth. Do you firmly feel that you need to accomplish things on your own? So I'm also the rugged individualist as well. So, okay, maybe I am just 1 through 5 because clearly my edges are being snatched right now. Another thing is, do you say things like, I don't need anyone's help? Does that sound like you? Do you frame requests in terms of the requirements of the project rather than your need as a person? This is something that I still suffer with to this day. I definitely have trouble asking for help. And I am currently in a situation where I need to be asking like family for help, but I refuse because I feel as if I'm supposed to be able to take care of myself. And that's how imposter syndrome gets you. Do you see how imposter syndrome will literally catch you slipping? Like, I'm sitting here giving a presentation about imposter syndrome, but Dr. Valerie Young is constantly reminding me like, sis, you're not far removed, because it's something that we battle with every single day. It's a never-ending cycle. The next and last one is the expert. People who fall into this competence type may feel like they somehow trick their employer into hiring them. They deeply fear being exposed as inexperienced or unknowledgeable. So the expert really plays a big role in those who are TAs, I think. When I was a TA at Bowie State, I always was very fearful that they would say, like, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you're doing, we're going to remove you from this position. And I feel like a lot of TAs or students who work in certain departments when they're in school, they'll find themselves feeling like the expert because you start to believe that you got these jobs just because they liked you, not because you actually know what you're doing. So a few of the questions are, do you shy away from applying to job postings unless you meet every single educational requirement? I don't believe in that. I tell everybody to apply to whatever they want to apply to. I encourage people to do that. We have really been taught in society that we are not, if we don't meet what's on the paper, that we will not get the job. That is not true. Every job that I've ever gotten has been because I knew someone and they knew my potential, or because I just applied and I jumped out there. I've had some very high-level jobs, and I'm only 27 years old, so it is very possible for you to get whatever job you want, regardless of what your resume may say. Another thing for the expert is, even if you've been in your role for some time, can you relate to the feeling like you still don't, quote unquote, know enough? Do you shudder when someone says you're an expert? These are things that I constantly have to check myself on when I go to presentations and conferences. When you're in graduate school, you will present your work at different conferences and seminars, and you will find yourself having to remind yourself that you are the expert at this. You did the research about this. And a lot of times you'll be like, I don't really know if I'm really an expert, but you are the expert. When it comes to that thesis or that dissertation or that article that you're publishing or that poster presentation, you are the expert. Never forget it. And when you are battling with imposter syndrome, it's very difficult to remember that. So you have to find ways to check yourself. And I will be discussing those right now. I'm reading these comments and I am screaming. You can blame Alante, Shania, because that's who sent me. All right, so let me go to, I just want y'all to know that if y'all feel like y'all edges have been snatched, trust and believe, I'm bald right now. Like, there's no hair left on my head. Okay, so the next one is strategies. So I'm a solutions girl, and I believe, I'm waiting for it to, okay. I'm a solutions girl, and I believe that everyone's journey is different, but we can all work together to create different things that can help us combat some of these things called life, because we're all school in life. Like, even if you are in graduate school or considering graduate school, you are still having to deal with outside life. Like, and life happens, and it happens, in my opinion, I feel like life happens even more when you are in graduate school, because you are so focused on school that everything seems like a stressor. And I've been in therapy for the past 3 years, and one thing that my therapist always talks to me about is managing your stressors. So I just want to give you guys a couple of things that I do, and it's been really helpful for me to have these things to kind of help you combat that moment of self-doubt. Because imposter syndrome is literally a moment of self-doubt. And if you can master managing it and combating it, you will be able to identify it quicker. I'm going to give you guys a couple of phrases of ways where you can identify that you are suffering from imposter syndrome. If you achieve something and you say, like if someone says, I loved your paper, you'll say, oh, thanks, you know, it could have been better. Stop. Imposter syndrome. If you get into a really good program and you get a really good scholarship and you are too busy focused on the programs that you didn't get to versus the programs that you did get into, and you feel as if you got into these good programs because of luck, imposter syndrome. If you are someone who goes to your job, whether it's at the school or at work, and when you get into work, you're constantly trying to kind of survey the situation to really see if you know what you're doing because you're not confident in what you're doing, that is also imposter syndrome. If you receive an award and you downplay your reward, give yourself backhanded compliments like, oh, that award was cool, but stop where you're at with the but. So these are some of the things that that I use to assist me with imposter syndrome. The first one is affirmations. Affirmations are phrases that you can say that can bring you back to earth. I'm a very spiritual person, so I really do a lot of spiritual work with myself and also others to, just make life easier, because you can pull so many different things from different aspects in your life that can just make life easier. So affirmations are important. Saying things like, I am enough, I am worthy, saying things like, I am smart, saying things like, I am beautiful, saying things like, I deserve this moment are great affirmations to say, because they can remind you in the moment that you are worthy, that your greatness is happening because of you, and not because of any outside factors, because of who you are, who you were destined to be. Is great. And because you are a person of color, you automatically got the sauce. Like the sauce, you already have it. I tell people this all the time, like, we got the sauce off rip. So because we have the sauce, like we can add so many different flavors to that sauce to make it even more like off the chain. I don't even have the words for how amazing we are as a community, as a people, but you have to remember those affirmations. Like, if you want to be a little ratchet like me, and one of your affirmations is, you got the sauce, because that is also one of my affirmations that I say a lot of times. It's very helpful. Or, you are lit. That's also a fan favorite. But affirmations are usually I am statements or I statements to remind you that you are worthy of something. And you are worthy just because. I also want to add that in. Don't ever think that you have to achieve certain things in graduate school or in life to be deemed as worthy. Because you are here right now in this moment with me, and because you are here right now in this moment with yourself, you are just worthy, just for being here, just for breathing. Like, you matter. And if nobody else thinks you matter, I matter. And because I matter, you matter. And because you matter, I matter. And we matter together. So everyone else who feels otherwise, that's their personal business. The next thing is I'm laughing at these. Yes, come on, sauce. Y'all are hilarious. The next thing is the win jar. So I didn't bring my win jar with me, so I won't be able to show you all, but it's basically just a mason jar that you decorate. And every time you get a win, you write it down on a little slip of paper and you put it in the jar. And then at the end of the year, you open it and you read all your wins and boost yourself up. Be your own hype man. I'm trying to tell you, it's amazing. One of my friends, she had did a win jar, and I had read about them for quite some time, but I was like, I'm not doing no win jar. But the win jar comes in handy. It's very helpful for you. And you can even get like a little mini mason jar to like carry in your purse if you need your wins on the go. And you don't have to wait until the end of the year to read it. You can open it whenever you need a little extra pep talk. Like, that jar can be your little pep talk jar. You can also use a mason jar and put your affirmations in there, and you can open that jar when you need to go through your affirmations as well. I am all about using what you have. So if you have an old spaghetti jar at your house, clean it out real good, take the label off and decorate it, and boom, look at you, got a win jar. Do not spend money you don't have, because we all know that school is not cheap. The next thing is a monthly or yearly list. So last year, towards the end of the year, I was battling some serious issues with my health, and I was just feeling like crap. I was just like, man, like, my health is really stopping me from achieving certain things that I want to do. Now, mind you, I had just got my job offer at Bowie, and things were actually pretty going well, but because of imposter syndrome, I was convinced that I wasn't doing well. So what I did was I sat down and I wrote down every single thing that I did in 2017. So every conference I went to, every presentation, whatever it was. And when I went back and read that list to myself, I was in tears, because I was just so filled with pride and joy that I had done so many things and I forgot. Like I even had stuff on there like you made your first like cold pressed juice from scratch. You did X, Y, like little things like that just really lighten you up because you forget. Like people forget that like everything that you do, especially when you're in grad school, matters. Like if you figure out how to make a meal that can save you money, girl, you win it. Like that is winning. And you want to remind yourself of the little things because all of your achievements and accomplishments do not have to be something like grand and fabulous for the likes of other people. It can be something that just matters to you. If you were able to, you know, get a really good haircut or, you know, do a bomb twist out and still have time to watch Insecure and still have time to drink wine and still woke up and got to class the next day, you're winning. Write those down. You can also do it month to month. I think that month to month is really helpful for those who may feel very overwhelmed by their program and they may feel like they're doing a lot. So you can reflect on those monthly lists and remind yourself that you don't have to do everything at the same time. And maybe it will allow you to kind of open up your schedule and allow yourself to just be. The last thing is, oh, thanks. Oh, you guys are great. You got to make me all warm inside. So the last thing before we get to the question and answer is the reassurance partner. So I'm in an accountability group, which I was like anti at first because I don't. Sometimes I get in these moods of like I don't want to be in no accountability group because I'm not doing anything, but my sister Christina was like, oh girl, you're gonna be in this accountability group, so it is what it is. So the accountability group has been so helpful. Having a group of people who have been in the same experiences as you, because we're all either in graduate school or have graduated graduate school, and we're all Black women. Having a small group of people who are going through what you're going through is great. They can act as your reassurance partner. So when you are feeling those doubts about your tasks and your achievements, they can come through and boost you up. They can hit you with the yes and send you the clap emoji or the fire emoji, or they can send you the little emoji where the lady got her hand out to the side and send you Cardi B lyrics, whatever, to boost you. You need that. Everyone needs that reassurance partner. And I think it's really important in graduate school to find those reassurance partners in the most random places. I was thankful enough to meet two of my greatest friends now in my graduate program. And it was just strange how we all got close, but we would literally just go in on each other in the group chat about how great we were, to boost each other and to remind ourselves that we were great. And having a reassurance partner or a group is something that's really, really important. And I feel like it's difficult to get through life without having someone on your team. And it's also difficult to get through life without having someone else on your team. And I also believe that being in graduate school is so much harder when you feel alone. So it's really important to try to find those reassurance partners. And that is it for the presentation. So I can answer any questions that you all have at the bottom. I can type in and answer. Well, actually, I can talk. I can be anybody's friend. Follow me on Instagram, girl. DM me. So do you all have any questions about imposter syndrome, the presentation, or anything just in general that we can chit chat about for a bit? The floor is open. I'm trying to read all these comments. You guys are hilarious. Is your name Monica Collins? You're loved too, girl. So how did I figure out what worked for me? Well, I realized that I was one of those people where treatment for anything always looks different. And I was always willing to try different things. But I also knew that I've always had this idea of who I wanted to be. And once I accepted who I was at that moment, who I am in my body, in my soul, and my spirit right now, I was able to come up with things that worked for me. So the writing the list was something that I just did last year, but it reminded me. The wind jar is something that I just started, but it works. Affirmations I've been doing for a while, thanks to my therapist, but it works. And I just would try different things until they worked. And I realized that just taking the time to do a little trial and error for my own growth as a person was monumental, because a lot of times we get nervous and we don't want to try different things because we're not sure how they'll work out. But just think about it. If you're suffering from imposter syndrome, wouldn't you rather just want to try something to combat that rather than just wait? Okay, Marie, have you found an ideal organization technique that eases your perfectionist stress? So let's see. I have found that making to-do lists on my laptop have been helpful, but I don't get too detailed. I do the little planner thing sometimes, and that's been very helpful, but making a to-do list on my laptop, like with a little notes section, has been really helpful. And I always do it very generalized. I realize that when I do a generalized to-do list, I feel less stress, and I feel as if I have more free range to do the activity in any way that I want to. So, like I'll put like to do, like from this, my to-do list for this week said to do turn in grades, create presentation for today, post blog, and that was it. I ain't put no due dates or nothing. And that was just on my computer. So when I opened my computer, I would see it, but it wasn't like blaring at me with like, you need to do it by this date. It had all these stickers and flashing lights and reminders coming to my phone, because I used to be that type of person and it would stress me out. So those are just some of the things that I do to help with my perfectionism. And I've noticed that when I allow myself to go with the flow, and it was very difficult. It took me a very long time to learn to go with the flow. But once I've learned how to go with the flow, things just were so much easier. Hope that answers your question. I'm the only Black in my cohort, and it is such a huge disconnect. Sometimes I feel like, well, how did I get this far in my program? Do they really just feel sorry for me? Am I really doing well? Yeah, you're doing well off rip, because the thing about it is, like, schools are not just accepting people just to be accepting people, because that would be a waste of time. If you were not worthy of being in that program, you wouldn't be in that program. So a way to combat that is to remind yourself that off rip, I'm better than everybody in my cohort because I'm Black. So that's the first thing. Like, I'm a person of color, so off rip, I'm already better than y'all. Like, I'm already, like, I got the sauce. Then on top of that, I'm in this program and I'm doing research that none of y'all probably are thinking about doing, because you don't think about anybody but yourself. Sometimes you have to get petty like that internally. Don't say it to them, to remind yourself that, like, you are doing what you need to do. I could be in your life monthly, girl. Any other questions? I like answering these questions. This is exciting. Oh yeah, check out my blog, yourlight.co. You can subscribe to it if you want. I write about all types of things. And I'm real fun on Instagram. My IG, my personal one is KàLyn, which is just my name. And then my blog is You Are a Light. Well, I guess I should type that in, huh? Sorry. Oh, never mind. Alante got me. Down to sis, got me. Shania can attest to me always showing up and showing out. I'm always here if people need me, because we're not doing this alone. We're doing this together. I love being there for people. Anybody have any other questions? Thanks, Shania. I'm super excited for you guys that are already in grad programs or looking to go into grad programs. That's a dope. I'm actually applying to PhD programs in the fall because I need to get back in school. So keep your girl lifted in prayer because PhD programs ain't no joke. I just remember grad school. Grad school was too real for me, but I made it out. So shout out to that. Thank you. You guys are a gift. You guys have beautiful souls. No, thank you guys for showing up. I'm really excited. I love this. I love when I can just, politic with the folk. Thank you guys. Ooh, yes, Renee says, listen, I'm gonna have to contact you so you can give me all the tea. I'm going through the process now, narrowing down my programs so I can do this GRE side eye. No problem, Anika. If you have any other questions, you all can definitely email me or DM me on Instagram. I'm very communicative. I love talking to people. So, hey, Ashley. Ashley, Birdie is my girl. You the bomb. But yeah, definitely hit me up and I will respond. Thank you for subscribing to my blog. Y'all are really out here boosting me. And I'm hyped. I took the GRE when I was in undergrad, but that was like 5 or 6 years ago. So I don't know, girl. I really don't want to take it, but one of the programs that I want to go to, they require it. So if I'm feeling petty, I might just not apply to that program. Because why? Because why? Why even? If I can find a program that's like, we'll take you, girl, we love you, without your GRE, that's where I need to be at because I don't believe in standardized testing, but that's a whole nother seminar. They're racially biased. I'm having so much fun. This is exciting. I think I may be more excited than you all are because I've been talking about this to everybody. I'm pretty sure everyone that follows me is like, okay, girl, stop posting about it. But it's such an awesome thing that Alante is doing with Black in Grad School and woke STEM and school in life and Black and Hooded. I'm sorry if y'all hear people yelling. I am in the Teach for America um, office and I'm using one of their spaces. And I don't even work here. But God be just blessing people randomly. And I was able to use their office to do this. Yay, subscribers! I'll be following everyone on Instagram. I think my email is on my presentation. If not, it's just my first and last name at Gmail. Hold on. I'm about to put the link in there for you. The article where I got it from. And then you can find her book on there too. Where is the YouTube thing? Is this it? Nope. Y'all, I'm not good at this. I don't know what's really going on. Here we go. Oops. It's not letting me post it. Let me see if I can just pull it up. The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women. Now, I do need y'all to know that she is not Black, so you know, you can read what she got to say, but tie your own experience to it. I gotta make sure y'all know that some of these people aren't who they say they are. Because y'all not about to be coming at me on Instagram like, you giving us all this tea, and she not even one of us. Listen, I took what she had to offer and I made it my own. I'm working on my own competence types just for Black women. So stay tuned for that. These emojis, Ashley, these sunglasses emojis, I can't.